rap, metal, rap, metal, Whitney Houston.
It's for my girlfriend, okay?
Sure it is.
These are my favorite and least favorite metal albums from May 2025, starting with The Haunted, with Songs of Last Resort. The 10th album from the Swedish groove metal band formed out of the original ashes of At the Gates after Slaughter of the Soul, and since Marco's return with Exit Wounds, they continue now a 3-record hot streak that takes me back to many a day listening to One Kill Wonder and Made Me Do It. So many more hook-heavy slappers here in the likes of Warhead, Death to the Crown, Through the Fire, and more. If you dig Gothenburg Melodeath riffs fused with thrash and some bluesy groove, definitely spin this one. Next up is Eschaton with Techtalitarian. The third record from this tech death supergroup made up of current and former members of Obscura, Necrophagist, Inanimate Existence, Apogean, and Retromorphosis. Always happy to see Max Smith on vocals, and he is backed here by some truly dizzying and mind-boggling guitar work. Frankly, sometimes the musicianship here is too much, even for me, but it's always impressive, and anytime it could become overwhelming, it knows just when to settle into a surprise transition or tasty groove. If you raved about Retromorphosis earlier this year, I think this album may be even better. Another nice tribute to Trevor Strand as well. Then we have And Oceans with the Regeneration Itinerary. 30 years into their career, and this Finnish band is still delivering some incredible work. I'll admit that I must have been the only one who didn't care much for As in Gardens, So in Tombs, but this one struck me as far more dynamic and interesting. Such incredibly triumphant sounding material here, from the guitars and drums to the massive production, and the eclectic approach to the synth gives it a bit more of that Eschaton energy as well. Then we have Puteraeon with Mountains of Madness. Album 5 for this Lovecraft-inspired Swedish death metal band formed in 2008, this time tackling the story of the same name. And I gotta say, how the heck have I never heard of these guys in the midst of the OSDM revival, because they are so much more interesting than half of the bands I hear about endlessly. Such fury and actual character to these vocals, bringing a real personality and drama to the music, reminds me a bit of early Deicide. And while they do of course bring those walls of HM2 distortion, it feels more of a well-implemented tool than a crutch holding up another copy-paste of old ideas. Next up is Low Before the Breeze with A Hole Beneath the Home We Shared. A truly chilling mix of noise, post-hardcore, and a touch of death and black metal made even darker with themes of trauma and loss. This truly is an open wound of an album bearing the singer's soul, warts and all. It's another one of those records that in the past I've compared to watching Requiem for a Dream. An incredible experience and impactful piece of art, but one that I can only stomach its deep well of misery every few years.
I love you, Harry. I love you too, Mom.
Next up is Your Spirit Dies with My Gnawing Pains Will Never Rest. The debut from this South Carolina metalcore crew that sound like they recorded this back in 2000 with Trustkill Records. Hearing elements of everything from Poison the Well and Shai Hulud to God Forbid. This was the golden era of metalcore long before Eyeliner and Hairspray or Gent took over. Just those pure hardcore vocals, raging D-beats, panic chords, and plenty of fun palm-muted riffing. Excellent listen. Next up is Ghostbath with Rose Thorn Necklace. The return of this North Dakota band with album 5 after really wowing me with the more dark depressive turn of 2021's appropriately titled Self-Loather. This album continues that more overtly black metal trajectory while also continuing to experiment with unique atmospheric elements, especially on tracks like Stamen and Pastille. It really has been satisfying to see this band prove themselves as a project dedicated to growing in its craft and being far more than the gimmick that they were once accused of being. The compositions here are lush and lovely as they are grim and forlorn, kind of like black metal's answer to The Cure. I was shocked to see how low the fan ratings are on Metal Storm for this album right now, so if you also enjoyed it, please go over there and put your own scores to rise this up, because I think it deserves it.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. You're wrong.
Then there's Ominous Ruin with Requiem. The second full length from this tech death band formed in the Bay Area in 2010, and their first with new vocalist Crystal Rose. Definitely getting vibes of Inanimate Existence, Archspire, and especially Entheos. Super fun modern tech, but with some progressive and atmospheric moments in there for good measure. Very talented crew. I wouldn't be surprised if we start hearing their name come up more in the future. Then there's Solfatare with Asservis par l'espoir. French is hard, so another time where I have no idea if I got even close. But the debut album from this Brussels black metal band spewing pure fire and brimstone. French is known as a romantic language, but here it somehow sounds more evil than anything could ever in English. Definitely some parallels worth drawing here to everything from Shamash to Deathspell Omega. I'm not sure if it stands out enough that I'll remember it a few months from now, but it's damn good black metal nonetheless. Then there's Bragging Rights with A Personal Curse. Another album from this UK project that has been really pushing out material lately. Think early Gojira, especially in the hooks on tracks like A Burial for Giants and Ditch Digger, but also with some pretty hefty sludge undertones as well, big walls of sound, and a lot of unbridled angst. I still think that the main thing holding the music back from taking the next big step is better production and mixing, something that would really capture the great expanse I think it's capable of filling. But even with some of those shortcomings, it's well worth a listen if you like angry, sludgy, progressive music. Then there's Shed the Skin with The Carnage Casts Shadows. Album 5 also for this Cleveland death metal band that I recalled enjoying with their debut album Harrowing Faith in the early days of Metal Trenches. Pure old school flavor here with the D-beat, speed, and thrash metal influence riffs and gurgly vocals. And to their credit, they still managed to squeeze some juice out of an old format with pretty catchy hooks on the likes of Crook of the Sacred Skies, plenty of earworm riffs and general energy to keep me engaged and frequently banging my head right here in this office chair. There's also Ossuary with Abhorrent Worship. Another one for my Lord Mantis enjoyers out there that just want something filthy, sickening, and sludgy. The debut full-length from this Madison, Wisconsin band who already impressed me with their early demos, but really put it all on the line with this one. Fans of gnarly old school death metal and raw bestial black metal alike should find plenty to enjoy here. I listen to this and picture waves of thick pulpy sewage engulfing Hollywood Boulevard or Fifth Avenue with a disturbed smile on my face. Then there's Fall 50 Feet with Counterfeit Recollections. More fusions of very 2000s era metalcore, mathcore, and post-hardcore from this West Virginia band. They give me notes of everything from Every Time I Die and the Dillinger Escape Plan to the Callous Dowboys. I already very much enjoyed 2021's Twisted World Perspective, and this is a more than worthy follow-up with lots of variety on display. Add some killer guest spots, including Jack Murray of 156 Silence, and additional artwork by Zombie Shark's Corey Swope, who also did the art for Metal Trench's merch line. Put that all together and you've got quite the package here. By the way, little aside, if you want to, there is a merch link. You can get some stuff here, but even if you're not doing that, be sure to hit the like button if you're enjoying the video, and comment below your favorites and least favorites from the month, because that helps the video in the algorithm. But moving on, we have Weeping Sores with the Convalescence Agonies. I actually interviewed Doug Moore, also of Pyrrhon and Seputus, back when the previous album from this Death Doom project dropped back in 2017. So it was extra interesting to read in the press release how this new record was a 5-year journey after injuring his shoulder in 2018 to the point of being unable to play guitar. And during this healing process, among other things, he, and I quote, became a completely different person over the course of its creation. I already greatly praised Doug's work on the latest Pyrrhon record last year, but this is a completely different creative outlet, mixing the slower pacing with interesting use of keyboard, cello, and banjo alongside his usual demented screams. And within the context, I feel like there is a serious bearing of the soul on this record that even I, a general Doom hater, can 100% appreciate. Oh god, here we go. Alright. We have Viljarta with Der Skogen Djunga und Evigatens Grana, or Where the Forest Sings Under the Eternal Spruce Trees. The third Thunderous Threnody of Thall from this Swedish band. I'm very proud of that, by the way. And this is the first time that I kept finding myself coming back to it. Where past releases have found me frankly kind of bored and waiting for it to be over with, this one feels like it has more layers to peel back and standout moments like those venomously enunciated snarls and rolled R's that show up a little over the third of the way into Sargasso. And also on that note, I am loving the sparing use of clean vocals, seemingly more dynamic songwriting, and increased focus of the less than an hour runtime after the seemingly endless 80 minutes of the last record. In addition to Sargasso, I'm also partial to Yiva, Der Mosen Multa Havit, and Regnetthi. Next up is Behemoth with The Shit of God. A little bit surprised that this made the list after being kind of underwhelmed with their albums post The Satanist, and also hearing that album title, but I think that this may be the closest they've come to matching that album since. And with a consistently powerful and focused 8 tracks displaying some serious quality over quantity, the choir elements in particular really add to the scope. We are the shit of God. Again, yeah, the album title is pretty corny, and I agree with the memes about it, but frankly, Nurgle won me over with his delivery, and I think that this is some of his strongest vocal work in a long time. Not a dull moment here, great mix of atmosphere, bitterness, and pure aggression. It really does feel like we are back on track with this one. And also, another note on the title, I do have to admit, like, in the US, that's kind of old hat saying stuff like that, but in Poland, considering Nurgle is still frequently having to deal with like charges and lawsuits related to blasphemy charges, like it kind of makes sense.
Are we still being formal? Please just call me Satan.
No, I am Satan.
I am Satan.
I am Satan. I am Satan.
But next up we have Full of Hell with Broken Sword, Rotten Shield. Another new EP from this seemingly restless New England extreme metal band, and as always toying with elements of everything from grindcore, grunge, and doom to electronic music and ambient. I don't always love everything that this group puts out, but I am absolutely always excited to hear it and end up walking away feeling like I heard something fresh, and that continues to be the case with this new 15 minutes. We also have Vader with Humanihility. It may only be 3 tracks, but it's always a good time for this classic death thrash band, completing a trifecta of big Polish groups this month. We'll get to the last one in a bit. If you know Vader, you know the game. If not, expect total carnage. There's just something about the union of these thrash riffs with Peter's unmistakable, one-of-a-kind bark, grumble, grunts, whatever word you choose to describe it, it's truly timeless and never gets old for me. We also have Rivers of Nile with Rivers of Nile. This fifth full-length album from these progressive death metal darlings feels like a compromise between the sounds of the last two albums for me, and it's also their first album to not feature longtime vocalist Jake Diffenbach, with bassist Adam Biggs taking over on those duties, and frankly, I think he kills it. Some truly venomous snarls alternated by more highly infectious cleans on foot-tapping opener suborbital blues. Tons of great songs on both the death metal and more pure progressive metal side of things, making for quite the dynamic experience. Overall, another strong outing. It feels a little tighter and more consistent than the work, but maybe less experimental. Alright, before I get to my favorite pick of the month, here are some honorable mentions. We have Misfire with Product of the Environment. Very strong outing from the Chicago thrash metal band with plenty of riffs and attitude. It didn't quite rise to the level of Warborn or Doomsday for me from last month, but it's a consistently good time. Alright, again, our third Polish band, we have Hate with Bellum Regis. Album after album, I root for this Polish blackened death metal band to put out that album that really floors me, but unfortunately they continue to mostly feel like Behemoth Light for me, though to be fair, Behemoth has also felt like Behemoth Light for a few years now. Solid enough listen, but nothing about it really grips or sticks with me. There's also War Moon Lord with Sacrosanct Demonopathy. Solid Finnish black metal with more than a little old school Emperor vibe to it. It's their third album and I feel like I can hear the growth despite them largely having a sound that they want to stick with. Right down to the production, this is pure 90s vibes done very well. There's also Onslaught with Origins of Aggression. Formed all the way back in 1982, this is surprisingly only the UK thrash metal band's 9th album, but then again, they had the wisdom beyond their peers to skip the 90s. Jokes aside, in spite of their age, this is another case of a legacy band digging deep to bring that youthful angst and fury. There's also Midnight with Steel, Rust, and Disgust. Fun collection of covers here from this Cleveland blackened speed metal band, as well as one new original song. Very old school punk rock energy, fun time. Then there's Nightfall with Children of Eve. Very solid album from this Greek blackened death metal band, recommended to fans of Rotting Christ in particular, but also Amon Amarth at times. It was a little bit one and done for me, but definitely worthy of a spin regardless. Then there's Poison the Preacher with Versus the World. More fun thrash metal this month, this time out of Colombia. Loving the rebellious crossover energy comparable to the likes of Municipal Waste, aided by a guest spot from Dead Heat, but also a decidedly death metal turn from Sanguisugabog. Then there's Chapang with Giappa. Some very solid grindcore out of New York, but with sounds inspired by Nepal. I'm extremely picky with this genre, so while it made for a good listen, it didn't necessarily inspire me to buy it. There's also Bury Tomorrow with Will You Haunt Me with that same patience. The 8th album from this UK metalcore band that I've been enjoying since 2018's Black Flame, but they've been putting out records since 2009. I especially enjoyed the implementation of new clean vocalist and keyboardist Tom Prendergast on The Seventh Son 2 years ago. This album, though, took on a bit too much of an octane-core slant for me, especially on tracks like Wasteland and Silence Isn't Helping Us, but it has its better moments like Waiting, too. I really expected this to end up on my best of list, but just fell short for me. Kind of disappointing. There's also Larcinia Row with Extraction. On paper, this seems like an album I should love, and I'm still not exactly sure why I didn't. The emphasis of this North Carolina deathcore crew is definitely on the admittedly demented vocals, which is both what hooked me initially and ultimately kept me around. But outside of that, I'm just not sure what else they really have to offer. The instrumentation is about as boilerplate as it comes, but I hear that they are crazy live, and I could definitely see enjoying it more in that context. More metalcore, we have Novelists with Coda. Another fairly bland and forgettable release this month from this French band. Strong vocals from Camille Contreras, with this being her first full-length outing with the band, but the songwriting, again, is just kind of mostly passable. The one interesting track that stuck out to me was Maldición de la Bruja, though it kind of feels out of place in the track listing. And we also have Sleep Token with Only in Arcadia.
I've got soul of lesbian, dead god, space dust for your viewers, dark days for your solstice.
Now, I fully expected this to end up on the worst list after not much caring for the previous album at all. I've been kind of a long-time hater of this band, but I mostly enjoyed this one.
I am shocked and chagrined.
It's even less metal than the previous outing, but I think that works in its favor. Gone are most of the bland, repetitious sections of generic gent, as well as the really corny and cringe moments, although it's arguable. I see some people saying they feel that way about this one. But here I think it's all in favor of just really solid and better flowing pop tracks, punctuated by some occasional explosive Deftones riffs, digging the math rock guitars on Gethsemane in particular. And honestly, there was no worst album that I listened to this month, although speaking of Octane Core, that President's single and the attention it's getting is kind of making me ill.
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next product.
But my favorite album of the month, and this probably goes as no surprise again to longtime viewers, goes to the Callous Dowboys with I Don't Want to See You in Heaven.
Why all the contractors? I say what's left to solve. They box for the sharper prayer.
One of my favorite modern day bands, and they have yet to put out something that I didn't consider to be at least close to a 10 out of 10. And once more, their eclectic mix of influences from the Dillinger Escape Plan to Deftones and 2000s emo makes for an absolutely thrilling listen.
So if one day you're dead out, in the doom before the burnout, I'll swim upstream again.
Insane mathcore breakdowns give way to smooth jazz with saxophone, and joking at the beginning of the music video about the lack of heavy parts on Lemon aside, I love that song and can't stop dancing to the very Enrique Iglesias-coded acoustic guitar. Lots of the number 12 Looks Like You, Worse Than Alone vibes on this one for sure, but really they have just continued to mature and expand and get wild with it, and it just always works for me. Y'all check out this playlist for more of my favorite metal albums of the year by month, or this for your personal YouTube recommendation. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.